Hey, I'm Judith Lynn, and I wrote the book You'll Know It When You See It, Following the Magical Path of Intuition. Yay! I had to use the name Judy Calhoun as the author because there are two other authors with the name Judith Lynn, and they're both in the romantic genre, which is not mine. Unless you're romancing the divine, then we might have something to talk about. So I wrote the book that I wanted to read after pretty much a lifetime of study, reading so many books and taking so many classes, and I learn best with stories. So I wanted to put some of these tools into a story, and that's what I did. I gave her a spiritual toolbox so that I can introduce these tools one at a time, and to help people tap into their intuition. So the story begins with Sally Chambers. That's the main character's name. I actually researched what names were popular in the 50s because she's about my age in the book, and Sally was one of them. And I literally heard Chambers after I decided on Sally, and I thought, well, that's an interesting name, and it will come into play at the end of the book, which blew my socks off. So it just, the book kind of wrote itself, and I literally didn't know where it was going until I started writing it. And I've started and stopped writing so many books, including cookbooks. I'm a natural food person, and I was always posting pictures on Facebook and social media of my meals. And so I made Sally a natural food cook as well, because that is one of the spiritual tools in the spiritual toolbox, is proper diet and taking care of yourself. Although I didn't really come out and say that, but it's certainly implied. One of my favorite sentences in the book is on page 1, where she pulls in, she's living in Colorado, and she's taking herself to a quiet place to think about what happened that morning. And she pulls into a pristine mountain lake parking lot, and there's no cars there, and she retrieves her beach chair, puts it on the shoreline, and the sentence is, sitting down, she closed her eyes and listened to the stillness, grateful for the gift of solitude. It's moments like this that allow for that still small voice to speak and be heard. Years of dedication prove that. Years of asking, seeking, and knocking always brought the inspiration and truth she needed to move through her life with courage and a sense of adventure. So in getting Sally a spiritual toolbox, I introduced the first tool, which is journaling. And I have Sally speak in the book through journaling and also via her thoughts. I decided to put quotations marks around her thoughts as if she was talking out loud, so that my readers could understand the thought process, because really it's an inside job. To change the outer world, you have to change the inner world too. And so I wanted my readers to hear what Sally was thinking. And so she begins by writing that she's had an unconventional life, and she has. And she thinks that retirement is bound to continue in a similar fashion. In other words, she has no real estate, no 401k, no pension, no nest egg, and she decided to stay single. She did not want to remarry after her divorce. And she's going, okay, it sounds really bleak, or it's the greatest challenge. And what's happening is she needs to start thinking about retirement. And with all those things against her, so to speak, she decides, well, wait a minute, I've had an awesome life. So she decides to start thinking about what does she have instead of what she doesn't have. And that's where she, there's no fundamental investments, there's no real estate, but what does she have? And she puts number one, a life fully lived. She traveled to all 48 contiguous states on road trips, just her and her intuition, well before she had a cell phone. So in this moment, she's realizing, wait a minute, I'm not going to judge my life based on what other people think is normal. And this is an important piece, to not compare to others. It can derail you. And this is a huge tool to understand and know that you are chosen, not by people outside of you, but by your inner world. You are chosen and you are connected. And so Sally is using her journal to stop those thoughts of, oh, poor me, I've got nothing, this is ridiculous, I'm never going to go anywhere. No, she is focusing on what she does have. And that puts her in an amazing frame of mind. She realizes, her life was fully lived. She went on road trips, and it built up a strong connection to her intuition. Because she didn't have a cell phone, she needed to know where she was going to go and why. Well, not necessarily why, but it does come in later into play. So she thinks that her intuition and a life fully lived are two things on her list that she does have. And those are huge. And then she realizes that she couldn't have saved for her future because she needed all her money at the moment to travel, to fund her tuition money, to cultivate her relationship with her intuition. Then she realizes that self-love would be next on her list of what she does have. And she realizes the ability to meet her emotional and spiritual needs comes from that self-love and the love of her friends, her family, her community. So she realizes that the third entry of what she does have, as opposed to what she doesn't have, is love. And then she realizes, I'm feeling very wealthy. And the feeling is the secret from the standpoint of feeling it and putting those other thoughts. No, I'm not going to put my attention on that. I'm going to put my attention on what I do have. And that brings gratitude, which opens so many doors. So she realized that her list would look completely different, and it was best to not compare herself to other people her age. And as I said, it would a surefire way to be derailed. So she was going to keep thine eye single and focusing on the feeling of gratitude for what her life had been about. And she wrote at the bottom, I am uniquely me. And now she was ready to focus on the actual plan. So her retirement plan, she has a couple of years before she's ready for retirement. And this is the first time she's really thought about it. It may seem irresponsible, but the way Sally has lived her life up until this point has been anything but. She has been incredibly self-disciplined. She changed her diet from the average American diet to whole natural foods. She has disciplined herself. She does not drink alcohol. She doesn't watch television. She has really stepped up to want to know and understand intuition. So that's what I'd like to leave for my very first video. I was going to try to have music, but I couldn't get the music to work. And I'm going to leave it at this point right now, if I even have the courage to post it. And then I'll continue on with chapter 1 and all the other tools, because she does list some of them. And yeah, so thanks for listening if you got this far. I'm learning. Thank you.